Good afternoon. We're so glad you could all come to the RCMP headquarters today for us to tell you about Project Dawgpound. One of our priorities in Manitoba is to really utilize intelligence-led policing so we can respond more proactively, and that is exactly what Project Dawgpound has done. Excuse me. The project started with intelligence gathered by the Criminal Intelligence Section and the Divisional Criminal Analyst Section. And once we started to really get into the workings of what was going on, the project grew leaps and bounds, resulting in significant seizures and a corruption charge. The drugs, guns, and proceeds of crime that RCMP officers were able to get off the street through this project is significant and will create a large disruption to the drug networks in this province. We continue to target drug traffickers and suppliers as time and again we have seen communities and lives get destroyed by the illegal drug trade. The violent crime associated with the illegal drug trade is exponential, and as part of our focus on reducing violent crime in Manitoba, a focus fully supported by the Manitoba government and the Minister of Justice, it is imperative that we continue to disrupt these networks. I'm here to show my support for the outstanding work done by the officers in the Manitoba Organized Crime Unit, or MOCU, as well as our criminal analysts, whose expertise always impresses me. Our East and West District Crime Reduction Enforcement Support Teams, or CREST teams, the Roving Traffic Unit, the Manitoba RCMP Federal Serious and Organized Crime Unit, all of which assisted at different phases in the operation, and I sincerely thank them for their assistance. I would also like to thank our partners on this project, including RCMP divisions throughout the country, the Winnipeg Police Service, the Intelligence Branch of Manitoba Justice, the Ontario Provincial Police Organized Crime Team, and the Peel Regional Police Service. Those directly involved in the operation are here to provide you with more detailed insight into the project. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you very much, sir. I was going to basically go over his remarks, but in French at this point. So bonjour, nous sommes très heureux que vous ayez pu venir aujourd'hui au quartier général de la GRC pour que nous puissions vous parler du projet Dawgpound. L'une de nos priorités au Manitoba est d'utiliser efficacement les services de police axés sur le renseignement afin de pouvoir réagir de manière plus proactive. Et c'est exactement ce que le projet Dawgpound nous a permis de faire aujourd'hui. Le projet a commencé par des renseignements recueillis par la section des renseignements criminels et la section divisionnaire des analyses criminelles. Une fois que nous avons commencé à bien comprendre le fonctionnement, le projet a évolué à pas de géant, aboutissant à d'importantes saisies et une inculpation pour corruption. Les drogues, les armes et les produits de la criminalité que les agents de la GRC ont pu retirer de la circulation grâce à ce projet sont considérables et perturberont fortement les réseaux de drogue dans la province. Nous continuerons à cibler les trafiquants et les fournisseurs de drogue car nous avons constaté à maintes reprises que les communautés et des vies sont détruites par le commerce illégal de la drogue. Les crimes violents associés au commerce illégal de la drogue sont exponentiels et dans le cadre de notre objectif de réduction des crimes violents au Manitoba, lequel bénéficie de l'appui indéfectible du gouvernement manitobain et du ministre de la Justice, il est impératif que nous continuions à démanteler ces réseaux. Je suis ici pour manifester mon appui au travail exceptionnel effectué par les agents du groupe de la lutte contre le crime organisé du Manitoba, ainsi que par nos analystes de la criminalité dont l'expertise m'impressionne toujours. Les équipes de soutien de la réduction de la criminalité des districts de l'Est et de l'Ouest, le groupe itinérant de la circulation et le groupe fédéral des crimes graves et du crime organisé de la GRC au Manitoba ont tous contribué à différentes phases de l'opération. Je les remercie de leur aide. J'aimerais également remercier nos partenaires dans ce projet, notamment les divisions de la GRC de tout le pays, le service de police de Winnipeg, le service du renseignement du ministère de la Justice du Manitoba, l'équipe de lutte contre le crime organisé de la police provinciale de l'Ontario et le service police de la région de Peel. Les personnes qui ont participé directement à l'opération sont ici pour vous donner un aperçu plus détaillé du projet. Merci beaucoup. At this point, maintenant, j'aimerais inviter, I would like to invite Inspector Grant Stephen, Officer in charge of Federal Service and Organized Crime for the RCMP in Manitoba, to the podium, please. Sir?
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming today to hear about Project Dawgpound. This project started in May 2022, and its scope has reached across the country. As the commanding officer mentioned, Project Dawgpound started from intelligence-led policing. The intelligence gathered by the Criminal Intelligence Section and Divisional Criminal Analyst Section led us to identify a multi-kilo and multi-commodity trafficker operating out of Winnipeg. We immediately followed up on that, and once we saw the totality of what we were looking at, we initiated a full-scale project with a primary target whom we aimed to disrupt. The Manitoba Organized Crime Unit, under the umbrella of Federal Serious and Organized Crime at the time, and many other assisting units engaged in an operation that would result in over $2.5 million in drug value removed from circulation. Our primary target, a 36-year-old male named Wei Ha, was identified as the orchestrator of large amounts of cocaine coming into the province from Ontario. He lives in Manitoba. Using numerous investigative strategies and techniques, we successfully identified 20 other individuals in this network, including members of the Crazy Indians gang, a Corps Commissioner guard at the Canadian Science Centre for Human and Animal Health, and an investigator with the Manitoba Finance Special Investigations Unit. Our primary target, or a designate, would often go to Ontario to pick up drugs and unstamped cigarettes and bring them back into Manitoba. As we were following this trail and getting a better idea of what the network looked like, we became aware that targets of our investigation had information regarding police enforcement plans. We began to see that information about police enforcement plans were being leaked from an inside source at Manitoba Finance. We narrowed that down to a specific investigator within the Special Investigations Unit. As part of a coordinated takedown, Donavon Sired, 50 years of age, was arrested as part of Project Dawgpound and charged with bribery of officers, breach of trust by a public officer, and conspiracy to evade payment. Wei Ha was also arrested and faces numerous charges from conspiracy to trafficking. He remains in custody. Ha's network was centered here in Manitoba and reached to many communities within the province, including Winnipeg, Brandon, Poplar River, St. Laurent, Ashford, Fairford, and Gypsumville. Outside of the province, this network reached into Toronto and the GTA, Calgary, Vancouver, Pickering, Ontario, Moncton, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island. In total, Project Dawgpound investigators seized the following: large amounts of Canadian currency in excess of $250,000, contraband cigarettes that would have yielded the Manitoba taxpayer $1.47 million in tax revenue, controlled substances, again with an estimated value of roughly $2.5 million, and this includes cocaine, MDMA, crystal MDMA, psilocybin or mushrooms, crystal meth, meth tablets, fentanyl, carfentanyl, prescription pills, hash, shatter, cannabis, and purple down, which is a highly dangerous mixture of fentanyl, carfentanyl, and it oftentimes contains heroin. 19 firearms were seized, one of which was 3D printed. In total, of the firearms seized, 2 were handguns, 7 semi-automatic rifles, 7 shotguns, and 2 rifles. 4 vehicles were seized, along with numerous electronic devices, large amounts of drug trafficking paraphernalia, and gang-related patches. We continue to have investigators working on this project and have 2 arrests that remain outstanding. Arrest warrants are in place. Project Dawgpound yielded fantastic results and got a kilo-level trafficker and his network off the streets. We will continue to enforce against the illegal drug trade and disrupt networks that often lead to or are connected with organized crime in the interests of creating a safer Manitoba and a safer Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Once again, I'll be covering his notes in French at this time. Bonjour, ce projet a commencé en mai 2022 et a eu des retombées à plusieurs endroits au pays. Comme l'a mentionné le commandant, les services de police axés sur les renseignements sont à l'origine du projet Dawgpound. Les renseignements recueillis par la section des renseignements criminels et la section divisionnaire des analyses criminelles nous ont permis d'établir l'identité d'un trafiquant de produits divers qui menait ses activités depuis Winnipeg, au Manitoba. Nous avons immédiatement donné suite à ces renseignements et lorsque nous avons pris conscience de l'ampleur de ce quoi nous avions à faire, nous avons entamé un projet à grande échelle afin de perturber les activités d'une cible principale que nous avions identifiée. Le groupe de la lutte contre le crime organisé du Manitoba, qui relevait à l'époque du groupe fédéral des crimes graves et du crime organisé, et plusieurs unités de soutien ont pris part à une opération qui s'est conclue avec plus de 2,5 millions de dollars en drogue retirés de la circulation. Notre cible principale, un homme de 36 ans nommé Wei Ha, a été identifié comme le responsable de l'entrée dans la province de grandes quantités de cocaïne provenant de l'Ontario. Il habite ici au Manitoba. À l'aide de plusieurs techniques policières, nous avons été en mesure d'identifier 20 autres membres du même réseau, y compris des membres du gang Crazy Indians, une garde du Centre scientifique canadien de santé humaine et animale et un enquêteur de l'unité des enquêtes spéciales de finances Manitoba. Notre cible principale, où une personne désignée se rendait souvent en Ontario pour récupérer des drogues et des cigarettes non estampillées, pour ensuite les ramener au Manitoba. Alors que nous suivions cette piste et que nous faisions une meilleure idée de la structure du réseau, nous nous sommes rendus compte que notre homme possédait des informations concernant les plans d'application de la loi de la police. Nous avons pris conscience que ces plans étaient divulgués par une source interne de Finance Manitoba. Nous avons conclu qu'un certain enquêteur de l'unité des enquêtes spéciales était à l'origine des fuites d'informations. Dans le cadre d'une opération coordonnée, Donavon Sired, 50 ans, a été arrêté dans le cadre du projet Dawgpound et accusé de corruption d'agents, d'abus de confiance par un fonctionnaire public et de complot en vue de soustraire au paiement. Wei Ha a été arrêté et fait face à de nombreux chefs d'accusation, y compris de complot et de trafic. Il est toujours en détention. Le réseau de Ha était basé au Manitoba et couvrait de nombreuses collectivités de la province, dont Winnipeg, Brandon, Poplar River, Saint-Laurent, Ashern, Fairford et Gibsonville. À l'extérieur de la province, ce réseau s'étendait à la grande région de Toronto, incluant Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver, Pickering en Ontario, Moncton, Nouveau-Brunswick et à l'île du Prince-Édouard. Et les enquêteurs du projet Dawgpound ont recueilli une importante quantité de devises canadiennes, des cigarettes de contrebande qui auraient rapporté aux contribuables manitobains 1,47 million de dollars de recettes fiscales, de la cocaïne, de la MDMA en cristaux, de la psilocybine ou des champignons magiques, de la méthamphétamine en cristaux, des pastilles de méthamphétamine, du fentanyl, du carfentanil, des comprimés d'ordonnance médicale, du hashish, de l'ambre de cannabis, connu en anglais shatter, du cannabis, 19 armes à feu, dont l'une en partie fabriquée par une imprimante 3D, des véhicules, des appareils électroniques, une grande quantité d'articles liés au trafic de drogue et des insignes liés à des gangs criminalisés. L'enquête est toujours en cours, incluant quelques arrestations en suspens. Les résultats du projet Dawgpound sont excellents. Un trafiquant de grande envergure et son réseau ont été mis hors de nuire. Nous continuerons à lutter contre le trafic de drogue et à perturber les réseaux qui mènent souvent au crime organisé qui y sont liés dans l'intérêt d'un Manitoba et un Canada plus sûr. Merci beaucoup. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Calvin Gortson, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Manitoba, to the podium. Sir.
Commanding Officer, Hail Officer Stephen, women and men of the RCMP, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Often at these events, we see the outcome of the work that our law enforcement officers do. What we don't see is the work that it took to get them here and the danger that they often encounter and that they put themselves in front of for this end result. And I want to again thank all of those who are involved in this investigation across Canada, here in Manitoba, for the tremendous work that you do in helping to protect our communities and in ensuring that these weapons and these drugs are off of the street. So thank you for your work. Today is another example of how cross-jurisdictional policing, integrated policing, evidence-led and analytically led policing yields results. We as a province continue to support and encourage these types of initiatives because we know, and you can see from the end result of Project Dawgpound, the drugs that are seized and the weapons that are seized can be fatal in different ways. Drugs obviously lead to addiction and can tear apart families and ultimately destroy lives. And so we're glad to see these drugs removed from the street. But we also know just simply the trafficking of drugs creates and enhances violence, both in Manitoba and other places in Canada. And violent crime is a significant issue for Canadians and for Manitobans. And so we're grateful for the work of the RCMP in saving lives from these drugs, from disrupting this criminal activity and the violence that comes with it. I'm sure that law enforcement would say that when they begin investigations, they don't always know where it'll lead. And sometimes it leads to unexpected places. But it is important that law enforcement follow the evidence and take action on the evidence that they find, even if it leads to places that are unexpected or perhaps disappointing. I appreciate the fact that we've seen a description of this investigation, and it reemphasizes the message that it doesn't matter if you are manufacturing drugs or if you are distributing drugs and weapons, or if you are assisting those who are doing those activities. There are consequences to those actions, regardless of where you are or how you're providing that assistance. So again, I'm grateful for the work of the RCMP. We thank you for that continued work and for each and every day putting yourself at risk for the benefit of all Manitobans. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time and your support. At this point, we would like to open the floor for any question. Inspector Stephen will be available to answer any question you would have, and I'll be also available if you have any question that you would like to ask or answered in French.
Inspector Stephen, I'm just wondering if you can explain how an investigator with Manitoba Finance would have information, in this case, about police operations.
Manitoba Finance actually, with their Special Investigations Unit, actually works closely with a number of law enforcement partners, not just the RCMP, in respect to ongoing investigations, particularly that have to do with tobacco-related industry.
How concerning is it that investigators allegedly leaking information to...
I'm sorry.
How concerning is it that investigators allegedly leaking information to criminals?
It was very concerning to us, obviously. One thing I can say is that the investigators were very astute in respect to determining and pinpointing exactly where that leak was coming from, and then also ensuring after the fact that there was no other potential individuals within the Special Investigations Unit that were taking part in this as well.
When was
Relation between Haw and Sired, women violence.
They're associates, and I won't be able to speak to any more in respect to that. There are components of this investigation that remain ongoing, so that's something that I won't be able to comment on today.
But how come an employee can have access? How come an employee from the Ministry of Finance can have access to data about police intervention or doing all that?
I'm sorry.
I don't understand how come an employee from the Ministry of Finance can have access to plans of police intervention. Do we know why that?
Yeah, as I mentioned, that's part of the ongoing investigation. Won't be able to comment any more on that right now.
When was Haw arrested?
All right.
was first arrested December 18, then released, and he was later arrested on January 20. Sorry, yeah, sorry about that. He was first arrested on December 18, 2022. That's when he was actually coming back in the province. And then he was released, but then later arrested when we executed several search warrant on January 20, sorry, I forgot, January 12, 2023, sorry.
When was the investigator Manitoba Finance?
He would have been arrested on the 12th of
12th
January. Yeah.
Can you say why it's called Project Dawgpound?
So investigations in Manitoba with the Manitoba RCMP will begin with the letter D, and then from there it's the name selection is up to the primary investigator.
Will RCMP be releasing the names of the others charged at all?
Will the other person being charged, are we releasing all the names?
Yeah, the information will be provided. Yeah.
Can you say how many times, like in terms of the information that was being leaked about police enforcement, that this disrupted plans to, target this network by RCMP? Like how often that happened?
Well, what I can say in respect to this is that we were able to determine this relatively quickly, and we strategically used it to our advantage.
What about the guard at the Corps Commissionaires? What involvement did they play in this?
What I can say about the guard with the Corps Commissionaires is that that particular individual would meet with Wei Ha or other targets of the investigation on lab property, and then would store and traffic drugs for this criminal organization while at work.
Speak to how big this investigation cost is, and maybe in comparison to other investigations Manitoba RCMP, scales and how large.
Yeah, I would certainly say that this is one of the larger in-scale investigations in respect to the RCMP, specifically within the last year. I would say this is likely the largest. It wouldn't be our largest overall, but certainly over the last year is one of the largest.
What charges laid against Top?
I don't have the exact charges in front of me, but they'll be in the range of conspiracy to commit offenses, likely trafficking, and also trafficking related offenses under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act.
So, in terms of the transport of these drugs, was this largely by land, truck, vehicle? How are they getting from?
Yeah, what I can say is that their transport of many of the all the illicit commodities was done by land, but there are other forms that are currently still remain under investigation.
Were they largely originating in the east of the GTA, or was there an arm in Vancouver? I mean, what
Drugs-wise, the origin spots was in Ontario. Yeah.
do you think this accused have ties to larger organizations?
Well, we know that the accused has ties to gang-related activity interprovincially. A component of the investigation that still remains under investigation is determining the links to organized crime throughout the country.
When you say outstanding arrests, because we can find them.
Yeah, we haven't located two individuals yet, and there's arrest warrants issued for them.
Can you speak to what role that the 28 other individuals that have been identified played in this network?
Their roles were in respect to, well, the importation and distribution of illicit cigarettes, the importation into the province of illicit drugs, and then the distribution of the drugs throughout Manitoba and across Canada, as well as the acquisition of the firearms and then the distribution of those firearms to other criminal elements across Canada.
So, is it basically firearms charges?
Yes, he is.
Yes, yeah.
And so there were drugs being picked up in Ontario, but were drugs also moving across the country?
The drugs are getting picked up in Ontario, brought to Winnipeg, and then redistributed from here.
And then, so that includes being redistributed from Winnipeg to other parts of Manitoba as well as elsewhere in the country?
That's correct, yeah. Good? Yeah.
I have a question for the minister. can the government do something to prevent more cases of public servants having leaking those data?
Yeah, so I have no doubt that finance will undertake its own internal investigation into the circumstances of this situation, but the message is clear. Obviously, individuals can be lured into this type of activity for a lot of different reasons, whether it's relationships or whether it's the desire for financial gain. But it doesn't matter the reason that an alleged individual or a person with an alleged activity is getting involved in this. They're not above or immune to the law. And so finance will undertake their own internal investigation. But the clear message here is, regardless of who you are or where you work, if you are helping individuals in any way in the distribution or manufacture of drugs, there are consequences for that, and the full consequences of it will be borne.
How concerning is it for you though to see that employee might have leaked plans or?
Of course, it's concerning. Obviously, as Attorney General, I won't get too far into the details, but allegations are concerning. But I appreciate the fact that the RCMP followed the evidence, found the evidence, and did the appropriate thing in terms of laying the charges. The message has to be clear that whomever is involved in assisting those who are manufacturing and distributing drugs, doesn't matter where you work, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter why you're doing it, there are consequences for it.
Can you speak to Donavon Sired's status with the Manitoba Finance Investigations Unit at all?
Well, I think finance would be better to speak to his status, but I'm pretty sure he's not there right now. Right.
Thank you very much. That will conclude the media release. If anyone wants to have a closer picture, no problem. Just